This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carannante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carannante. The Yankees clinched last night. First champagne celebration. First of two they're hoping for in the regular season. That's kind of a weird vibe. With 10 games remaining, they plan to do it all again. But we are here to talk about New York's playoff future, including both the Yankees, and hopefully for the city, the New York Mets, two teams that are poised to potentially play deep into October this year, as well as battled out for Juan Soto in the offseason. Here to talk us through things as they stand, help us preview the playoffs, and discuss recent happenings in the land of both the Yankees and Mets is Dani Wexelman. You know her from SNY. Dani, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me. What a blast. First of all, I love what you guys do. I'm so glad that you reached out. And for me, I like to nerd out in September. It's one of my favorite months in general. But how about when both teams in New York are playing well, which means that October is primed to be out of control, which we all love. We want that to happen.
Yeah, it is time to pack the bars. It is time to get your standing room only tickets. Do what you can to enjoy the atmosphere. We're going to be covering a lot of fun stuff today. Thank you so much for joining us on this show. And before we get into all the good stuff, Thomas Carannante, as always, thanks for joining me as well. And you got an offer for the viewers and the listeners, and then let's roll.
I do have an offer. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Dani, for going live with us. We're going to have a good show here. But first, how about we take a swing at Pick'em this baseball season on Underdog Fantasy? Over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog. You can win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite player stats like strikeouts, total bases, and home runs. I just set up my account. I'm getting ready to go. Probably rope Adam in at some point, get him back in the groove. But Underdog is super easy to play, and it's even easier to get started. All you have to do is go to their easy-to-use mobile app or head on over to UnderdogFantasy.com. You got to sign up with our promo code GOYARD, and Underdog will give you a mystery special pick to use on your first Pick'em entry, plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Again, that's Underdog Fantasy. The promo code is GOYARD to claim your new customer special of a mystery player pick and your deposit offer. You must be 18 or older, 21 and older in Massachusetts and Arizona, 19 and older, very weird, in Alabama and Nebraska, and present present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply, void in Colorado. And yeah, all the other good stuff. If you're concerned with your play, hit up 1-800-GAMBLER or go to mpcgambling.org. Anyway, let's get into it. Dani, the Yankees are in the playoffs. Now what? What's your vibe? You're here covering them from an objective perspective. We want to know, A, how you think this team will do, and B, how you think the road has been up until this point.
Well, first of all, it's a huge win, right? Because they missed the playoffs last year. So number one, they're back. And so everyone can just take a big sigh of relief that the work in the offseason, even if not everyone thought it was enough, even if there were some maybe small misses, you could say, of other guys that were available, that right now they are back in the postseason no matter what. The vibes to me are high. You watch this team play. You watch Jazz Chisholm come over from the Marlins in a trade, and the way that he has ignited and energized these guys and what he brings to the table is a huge deal. You need a guy like that in October. But not only that, you also see the way that everyone's level of play, at least offensively, I'll start offensively, has risen. I do feel like in the last month or so, it's been hard for the Yankees to separate from the Orioles. It's been really hard for them to gain any ground. And now you're seeing it happen. You're watching them pull away, and you're really seeing the bigger picture here of what this team can be, firing on all cylinders, I would say. So for me, when I watch this team, or when I go to the field and I go in that clubhouse, I feel like everything right now is where it should be. There are some tweaks and some things that they can improve. Of course, every team can. I know we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but right now, looking at the position that they're in, You get the bye, whether you think that's good or not, whether you watched the past couple of years in the postseason, the bye has hurt some teams and other teams like the Astros. I don't know if I can say the Astros on this podcast.
We'll censor it. Yeah, we'll censor it.
Is that like Voldemort? Can I say that here? They didn't seem to have a problem with it. So we will see how, if things stay the way that they are, the Yankees are able to have a couple of days off, rest, and then start in the division series and wait and see who they're going to face. I expect this team to make a run, guys. I expect them, with the bullets that they have and the tools that they have, to be able to make a run. And I'll tell you why. If you look across the board at the postseason picture, there's no way you can tell me and highlight a team and circle a team and say this team is definitely going to win the World Series. Everyone, to me, is pretty even. Some teams have a better bullpen. Some teams have better offense. Some teams are lacking in both areas, but will still get in. So watching what the Yankees have done all season and seeing the way they've played the past couple of weeks tells me that they are primed to make a run.
Yeah, we might have to get you on a retainer to come on every couple weeks so you can bring the vibes back up, because we're usually yelling on this one.
Yeah, we were actually like sort of upset after the weekend series over the 3-game 3-1 win over the Red Sox. We were finding the negatives, you were finding the positives. We love it. But there are a lot of positives to talk about today, and you're right. Look, we got to do bracket watch now because we're not sure where they're going to, net out. We're not positive they're going to be the 1 or the 2. They hold on against Baltimore or whatever, but they're in the postseason. They punched their ticket. And when you talk about wide open, I think a lot of people assume the Astros that always just seem to regenerate and be able to survive, bye, long break, no pitching. It doesn't seem to matter. They do whatever they have to do. But if they win their first round matchup, it looks likely they're going to be matched up in that 2-3 bracket, which could end up being the Yankees if they slip a little bit. But every Yankee fan is hoping, okay, let's hold on to this 1 seed. Let's go in strong. Bye is a little bit scary based on what's happened to the Braves, but still, you want it. And then Cleveland and their absurd bullpen. Yeah. And that's maybe the biggest single strength any team has going into the postseason. Like the Astros, we all just sort of shrug and go, yeah, pitching's a little light this year. I don't know if I trust Hunter Brown. They're missing some guys. Bregman's not the same, but hey, they're the Astros. Cleveland, you can legitimately say this team competes their ass off. Stephen Vogt has them fighting, and everybody in the bullpen, they have right now the best bullpen ERA collectively in baseball history. They're right up there with the 2015 Royals. Like, it's hard to say I want one team or I don't want another, but right now, I think as a Yankee fan, you are really hoping that we get Guardians, Astros 2-3. And I think Cleveland, which they always seem to match up with Houston in the postseason and fall a little bit short, feels like this year, if it happens, they really do have a chance to sneak by in one of these hard-fought, tight series where the margins really matter.
I think, and that's the thing about this October, is that there are a lot of teams that if you think, well, what if the Yankees had the Guardians bullpen? What if the Guardians had the Yankees offense? You kind of like piece things together in that way. But I agree that you don't really want to see Cleveland. And not only do they have that bullpen, and they've had it all season long, by the way, they really haven't had a lull. Emmanuel Clase has played his brains out, right? He's not going to get the Cy Young, but like my brain says what he's accomplished this season should at least be in the realm of that could be Cy Young worthy if we ever would give it to a closer, right? But the thing too is that they steal bases. They're like gnats. They're very annoying the way that they play, and they get on base and they move guys over. And Stephen Vogt has pulled all the right strings. It's his first year as a manager, and you wouldn't expect him to take this team to where they're at right now. My concern, though, I'll tell you this. My concern for Cleveland is that their bullpen in particular, they've pitched a lot of innings. Those guys are all going to exceed career innings for themselves. And so that to me, I'm like, okay, they haven't all played in October. That could be an issue for them. Their starting pitching has also been a squeaky wheel. Like if you're really going to look at something, their starters have stunk. And so their bullpens picked up a lot of that slack, which is why the innings are high. But to me, honestly, the bullpen is one of the most important pieces in October. And so if they've been operating this way all season and they still are able to win their division and hold on, even if everyone else has been climbing at them, that I think that they could be okay. But the Yankees offense, to me, outpowers them. The starting pitching has been good. The bullpen for the Yankees, for me, is where I start to get a little nervous. But on the Astros side of things, real quick, like Kyle Tucker coming back is a huge deal. Like, even if he's missed time, like Kyle Tucker knows how to play postseason baseball. Alex Bregman has not had a great contract year and free agent year, but he knows how to play postseason baseball. That entire team does. And their starters are some of the best in all of the teams that will be contending in October. So maybe that's a difference for them. Like, they just have that experience. Again, another first-year manager, Joe Espada, who's done a really great job. But on the American League side of things, like, don't forget the Tigers. Don't forget the Tigers, right? Maybe a team that you really don't want to face is a team that has absolutely nothing to lose. And they're right now, they are breathing down the necks of those wild card teams, especially the Twins and maybe even the Royals in the American League wild card. So the Tigers are a team too. I'm like, oh my God, are the Tigers seriously going to get in right now? This would be bananas. But that's what's good about the way that the format has changed. But maybe for the Yankees, the time off, get to reset yourself. And also, you get to set your rotation, right? Which I also think is a big deal.
We're on the Tigers train for sure because it's going to keep the Red Sox out of the playoffs. And Adam is constantly I live through the information from Adam because he's tracking exactly where the Red Sox are in the standings.
Yeah, you are lucky I'm not doing that because they lost the first one to Tampa. So I'm temporarily taking a breath. But usually there's like a minute in each of these episodes where I just run down like, hey, don't forget the Red Sox upcoming schedule is this and the percentages change. So I'm not doing it today. We're not doing it, but maybe next show.
Yeah, next show. And we'll forget about the Astros. I can't think about them right now. Okay. But again, you're covering you've got a good inside look at the Yankees, and you have more of an objective perspective and know what's going on that front, whereas we're in the weeds and we're yelling about things that get us angry all the time. So from your lens, we specifically want to know what you think the Yankees' potential fatal flaws are, because we talk about a ton on here, and we know that we've seen so many things plague them when October comes around. And we also want to know what you think their unique advantages are. And in that same conversation with the unique advantages, you cannot mention Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. Because as Luis Severino said, they only have two good hitters. So we got to think a little bit more beyond that.
Okay, I will start with the fatal flaws, the words that you described there. I would say, number one, it's hard to find a fatal flaw for the Yankees, in my opinion. Again, I'm looking at the field. I'm looking at the other teams that I think will be in the postseason. The picture's pretty clear, minus a couple of things here. Just a couple of things. Like, to me, it's really obvious, and it's the bullpen. And it's something that has plagued them in the second half. In the first half, the numbers were better. Like, if you go back and compare, the numbers were better in the bullpen. Obviously, Clay Holmes was doing a better job. I talked to him, it's probably 2 months ago now, maybe a month and a half ago, when the struggles started to hit. And the thing about it is, like, from my objective perspective, from someone who I consider myself to be in the media, to be a journalist, and not picking sides here, like, you do feel for him. And I know that Yankee fans probably, they want to throw things at me right now because, like, it's his job and he's paid a lot of money and he's blown a lot of games, and games that are important, especially in a race like this. But you feel for him because he's really not missing by much. He's really not that off. If you look, like, when you really dive in the weeds, if you want to get really nerdy and go on Fangraphs and look at, are guys swinging out of the zone more? Is he missing out of the zone more? Like, all of those little details, like, they're not that far off, and they're not that much different from last year. So to me, like, it's not that much, but when you look at him, I can't trust him right now. And I think that's fair to say. And I think anybody would say that. And he's not in my circle of trust going into October. And that's unfortunate, because you need a guy like him. You need someone with experience, and you need a guy who knows how to wear the pinstripes and play in October. And so for me, he's not in the circle of trust right now. So that's my biggest fatal roster. No, absolutely not. You need him in there, because here's the key to the postseason, right? Like, your starters may give you 3 to 5. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's all I expect. Who's going to give you 6, 7, 8, right? Like, he is going to be crucial. I don't care if it's a blowout game and you put him in the 9th or the 6th or a high leverage spot in the middle of the game, because you do have Luke Weaver, who is emerging. Mark Leiter Jr. really does need to figure it out. Like, he's got to step it up, because that's also I'm telling you right now, like, Luke and Mark Leiter Jr. will be huge. They will be the reason that the Yankees are going to be able to advance. So for me, like, October is all about the guys in the middle. They're the middle relief, long relief guys who fill the gap from starter to finish, because nobody's talking about them. No one is mentioning their names. Maybe Luis Heel ends up finding his way into those. I hope that he doesn't, because I think that's a really tall task to ask for a guy like him who has zero experience doing that. But that's where I look at this team and I'm like, this is where you really could crumble. I think about the Phillies last year and Craig Kimbrell in the championship series and him not being able to do his job. And they needed him to. And unfortunately, they didn't have a contingency plan. I think that Aaron Boone is building the plan. Marcus Stroman shouldn't be considered outside of that plan either. And by the way, I don't care if he wants to be in the bullpen or not. You're paying him a lot of money. He's very good. He needs to be in a place where he can help the team win. And if he's not in the starting rotation, he better just suck it up and be like, that's fine. I'm going to do it for the team and do what they need me to do to win. So, like, that's what I look at with this team. It is really obvious. The other thing too, which is more minor, I would say, is the foot game. Like, they're like bottom 5 in stolen bases. Like, they do not do that at all. And in October, I feel like you need a little bit more of that. You need to be able to utilize that weapon.
We want a free taco.
Yeah, I also would like a free taco. By the way, I definitely predicted 2 years ago. Was it Schwarber 2 years ago? Whoever, I think whenever it was Schwarber.
Ridiculous, yeah.
That was me. But anyway, I'm not saying anything that anybody doesn't know, but I think that it's the middle relief guys that you never think about during the regular season that become the superheroes. And this team is struggling a little bit in that department.
Yeah. Clay Holmes versus Craig Kimbrell is a good comparison too, because if you nerd out and go on Fangraphs, check out Kimbrell's stats from last year. It's just a big broken blue screen. But Holmes is closer to the reality. You're right, and there's still that possibility. They do need him. You remind me of my favorite team of the Aaron Boone era, the 2019 Yankees. When you're talking about covering the opening innings and who covers 6, 7, 8. That team was so close to being so magical. And then when it got down to crunch time, the ALCS, they had Chad Green starting instead of throwing innings 6, 7, 8. And then you knock everyone else down the ladder. You have nobody. Like, if Chad Green's going innings 1 and 2, what is 3, 4, 5? Let alone 6, 7, 8. So they always end up a little bit short there. And this year, you're 100% right. They're going to need, whether it's Stroman or Leiter or Heel or Ian Hamilton, we double your workload or something like that. They're going to need somebody to step up, because right now they're close, but maybe not in a game 5 or 6 when everybody gets burned out and tired.
I'll say too, like, sometimes managers get cute, right, in October, because 1, maybe you have to, or 2, you think, I'm gonna buck the trend. I am going to circumvent what everyone thinks I should do or what this team thinks I'm going to do. And my weird, wacky, cute plan is going to work. And it rarely works. Like, it rarely does. You just have to have those bulk guys. And guess what? Everyone's going to have cleats on for every game, because when your bullpen struggles and if your starters can't give you length, like, everyone's got to be ready, which is why I think that Luke Weaver, who is historically a starter and just earned his first ever career save, right, a couple of days ago, like, he is going to be, for me, the guy that you highlight and you're like, sack up, buddy, because you're going to be it. You're going to be the guy that we depend upon, because you're now in the circle of trust. So that stands out to me. I didn't answer your other question. The thing that stands out about the Yankees, I think, compared to everybody else, is the way that they beat the tar out of the ball, and that it is a relentless lineup. Even if you don't always feel it 1 through 9, I do feel like everyone is capable of having a big moment. And I do think that when you have the 1-2 punch of Judge and Soto, and let's be honest, like, for me, I know everyone is hot and cold with Gleyber Torres. Like, there are moments where he shines so bright, and you just hope that you see that in October and hope that he can come through. Austin Wells, to be in the position that he's put himself in, to have these moments. Like, I saw him, was it Julio Rodriguez, whose bat hit him in the catcher's helmet the other day. And, like, he just stood up and walked it off. Like, that dude is ready to run through a brick wall in October. And so I just watched the way that they've unfolded. First half, they're a top 3 offense. Second half, top 3 offense. Like, it hasn't wavered. They've done their jobs, even if it hasn't always felt like it. And maybe sometimes you're seeing that swing and miss, but they right now, to me, are the most dangerous team offensively in baseball. And the numbers back that up. But you watch them play and you watch these moments unfold and you watch Judge with the bases loaded, and it unfolds the way it's supposed to, because they're doing their jobs. And I feel like they've worked a lot of different things out, things that maybe they were struggling with earlier in the year, and they are who they are now. So the team that is right now, who you see in front of you, is the team that's coming to October. And I'm not mad about it, honestly.
I would agree with that. I've been loving. We're specifically harsh on Gleyber Torres just because of the start to his career and how it's kind of just been, you're never going to get that production again. And he's at some point, he's leading the league in errors for second baseman. And you're like, at the very least, we just need you to be fundamental. Like, can't do this. But him in the leadoff position has been great. I also agree with you that the pitching depth is actually pretty good. If Aaron Boone can press the right buttons, just no J.A. Happ starting game 1, please, of a playoff game. We can't have that again. Like you said,
we are the cutest. Yeah, we are
famous for trying to do that. We feel that they're always trying to go off the beaten path when fans are like, hey, here's the obvious move. Please do the obvious move. And they're like, no, we'll wait 3 weeks to do the obvious move and then take Clay Holmes out of the closer role. But how's your experience been covering the Yankees? We know it's a tall task. It's New York media. It's the New York Yankees. How do you have like a newfound appreciation for New York fandom? How's it been interacting with the players? Like, lay it all on us.
Yeah, well, if I could go back for a second, like I told you guys earlier, I'm a kid from St. Louis, Missouri. I grew up a Cardinals fan. I grew up a Rams fan, a Blues fan. And then I went to Mizzou, the University of Missouri, and I studied journalism there. So I spent a lot of time, like the majority of growing up, being a kid in Missouri, even when I traveled for softball, like we didn't go that far. And so New York has been or was a pipe dream. It was not something I was like, ooh, when I'm out of college, I'm going to move to New York City and work. New York City is the #1 market. And you know that when you study journalism. And maybe, when you're 40 or 50, maybe you'll get to come work here because you've worked your way up. Well, my life, I've taken a lot of odd left turns and ended up here earlier than I thought. And so I still feel like a tadpole, to answer your question, even when I walk in the clubhouse, even if I know faces and I know guys. I've known Anthony Volpe since he was 15, 16 years old. But I definitely have a new appreciation. I think when you grow up in the Midwest, you only know what you know, and that's okay. The picture sometimes is a little smaller, I would say, at least in my experience and from my perspective. And when I moved here, I think it opened my eyes to a million different things, but also to the sports landscape and how powerful they are and important they are. Like, don't get it twisted. St. Louis fans are ride or die, hardcore. You come out of the womb and you are a Cardinals fan. You do not have a choice. And it's a great thing. It's an awesome thing, because what I learned in New York is the same in St. Louis, is that the fans and the city are so intertwined and they are the same. There's nothing different, right? They are just together in this very special way that you don't see in every city. So in the clubhouse, you feel it. You feel how grand it is and how important it is and how big it is, because every little thing matters. Did Aaron Judge wink at the camera or did he blink at the camera? Did he smile or did he just smize, right? Like, we are dissecting every little thing, and it's intimidating at times. There are moments for sure. I mean, if you're in a scrum, which is all of the reporters together in one spot and everyone is like pushing up against each other to get the news and get the moment and make sure you get the shot. Like, that's intimidating. That's not happening in Kansas City, Missouri. No offense. The Royals are really great and I picked them to win the division, but like, that's not happening there, right? In New York, everything matters. And that is so stinking cool. That is something that I did not know I would get to experience. But listen, I think you treat people how you want to be treated. That maybe that's the Midwest nice in me, but I've had a pretty great experience. Every once in a while you get big leagued and it is what it is. If you take it personally, then it's probably a you thing. It's not something that I take personally, but I've had a great experience. I've had a blast. It makes me feel like I am where I'm supposed to be. I think when you get to cover teams like this, especially in meaningful games and meaningful September games, I would say it's probably every reporter's dream to be in the position that I'm in.
And here we are with those meaningful September games. Look, New York is its own beast, but New York is especially its own beast this year, where if you had tapped me in April or May and said, by the way, this Yankee season, like, you know how good they look right now? They're going to slump dramatically in June, July, August. They're going to make you think September's not going to matter. Like, they're going to make you think the Red Sox are going to pass them. But then they're going to rebound, clinch first of any American League team. And, oh, by the way, the team across town that you're kind of side-eyeing and maybe laughing at their Juan Soto pursuit right now, they're going to be the other hot team that takes the torch from you. They're going to beat you up in the Subway Series, and they're going to hurdle towards the playoff spot as well. Now, the Mets have not clinched, but exciting times at SNY as they begin to distance themselves a little bit from this banged-up Braves team. There is an absurd series at Citi Field this weekend between the Mets and Phillies that could end up being kind of determinative if the Braves continue to fall off. What's it like for you being in this city at this time with both, especially with the job that you're currently doing, but with both teams firing mostly on all cylinders, and when one takes a step back, the other takes a step forward, and they're both sort of hurtling towards a similar conclusion?
When I tell you that the city is magnetic right now, I am not joking. I am not trying to be ridiculous in the words that I use. Like, the city is magnetic and you can feel it, right? Everywhere you walk, it's a lot of Yankee caps. There's a ton of Met caps too. Everyone around you is excited that the city has two teams that are going to be in October. And I'll tell you this, the Mets deserve to be playing in October. The way that they've played baseball the last 2 months of the season, really since the All-Star break, figuring it out, they deserve to be playing in October. And I'm the first to admit, guys, I had them at 500, missing the postseason. I thought their offseason was a little bland. I was unimpressed. There were a lot of question marks. They had a ton of injuries. And now you see what they've been able to do. Carlos Mendoza, like, oh my God, where would this team be without Carlos Mendoza? Calm, cool, collected. You walk into the presser with him and listen to him speak about his team, whether they're winning or losing. He holds them accountable, but he also has their back. It's this very unique blend. And it's no surprise, right? Because he was Aaron Boone's bench coach. Like, he knows how to win. He knows what it's like to see these guys and play these games and go through those slumps. And so he's taken them to this level. I think that I talked to Jesse Winker. So I was at Citi Field all week for the Nat series. And I talked to Jesse Winker yesterday. And he's like, it's good for baseball when the Yankees are in the postseason. It's good for baseball when the Mets are in the postseason, when the Dodgers are in, when the Guardians are in, right? You want everyone well represented, and that's what you're seeing here. But for both teams in New York, which we've talked about, is so rare. It is so rare. It's like 3 times in the last 30 years, I think, that both teams have been playing October baseball. And so you can feel how special it is. But for the Mets to have found themselves in this position, it's surprising in a good way. I think that Met fans they ride the roller coaster, right? And I will say, I thought the crowds were thin this week to be in a pennant race, to be in a push for October, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't care what day it is. I think Gary Cohen mentioned it too. The crowds looked a little thin. And I know Brandon Nimmo said something about getting fans out there. I know that the fans will show up for this Phillies series. It's a 4-game set. It's of the utmost importance because you're also kind of doing that litmus test. But I think the fans are weary and they don't trust, and they've just had their guts and their hearts ripped out time and time again. But I'll tell you, like, the vibes for the Yankees are high. They're the same for the Mets. You walk in and, like, it's oozing confidence. There's an energy about them. They have to get Lindor back. That to me is like, I'm not saying everything weighs on that, but that's going to be a huge deal. It's your leader, it's your heart, your soul. Also, your offense is a huge part of that. But man, it's freaking special. I've only experienced it, I guess I would say twice. So I think it was 2022 and then 2015. So I've only experienced it twice since I've been in New York City. But you can just tell it's different. And it's good for the game. You want these teams, these markets, you want the eyes, you want the stars, right? You want the game's biggest stars. And by the way, Lindor was just in the MVP race. I don't care if everyone thinks, oh, Ohtani has it because it's 50-50 and it's never been done. That's fine. But you had to recognize what Lindor was doing before he has been out with his back acting up. Like, you had to recognize what he had accomplished this year. And I don't even think fans still respect or appreciate what he's done and what he's done as a shortstop. by the way, at a position, a premium position like that throughout his tenure. The first year he was in New York, he stunk, and that's been it. He has been the best shortstop, according to Fangraphs WAR, since he came to New York. What has it been, 4 years, whatever it's been, number one, like the best. And so I hope that fans appreciate that. And it's fun, man. This is the good stuff. Like, I feel very spoiled. I'm like this. I know it's not going to be like this forever, but I'm really trying to be present and enjoy what's happening in New York right now.
I do envy Francisco Lindor's defense. It's really awesome.
Envy it like you want to be as good a defender as Francisco Lindor.
Yeah, no, I want, like, if I could play that defense in my life, I'd be in really good shape. I'd feel like.
I would agree. I would agree with you there.
Yeah. I know I envy the fact that the Mets have that and his bats come around, which has been great. And you kind of gave us your take on the NL MVP race there. Yeah. You think it should probably be closer. I would agree with that. I think Dodgers fans saying, defense, it doesn't matter what Ohtani's doing offensively. It's like, well, Lindor's playing a premium position. He's playing it arguably the best in the league. So that's got to count for something. But we have you here, and we know that you have you have a controversial AL MVP.
We did the research.
We did the sleuthing, and you're a Bobby Witt Jr. gal. So
you know what I'm
to the Yankees fans, just so they can understand it, because we think it should be perhaps a little bit closer than maybe the national landscape is leading on.
I'm grateful that you didn't pull up an old photo of me when you were sleuthing, like an old Facebook photo, the trend that's happening right now, and asked me to sign it. I'm actually really glad you didn't do that. I'm happy to talk about Bobby Witt Jr. So I covered him in high school. He was the first draft class that I got to cover. So I've seen Bobby for a long time, and I can trace it back to who he was in high school. He's been the same exact guy. And I think that in his first few years in Kansas City, he felt like he had to do more. And so what you're seeing this year is who I think Bobby can be for a really long time. It's not a flash in the pan. This is not a one-time thing. He's historically having, and you could say, well, it's the Royals. Like, spare me. Like, he's historically having the best season in Royals history, number one. Number two, he is playing a premium position. While he is not the best shortstop in the league, he's still playing that position every single day. I think he was one of a handful of guys who had played every game this season. I don't know if that's up to date for today, but that's what he's been doing. He's got the power. He's learning to take his walks. Without Bobby Witt Jr., I don't know where the Royals would be. I can't say that they would be in a wild card spot. I cannot say that. They won 56 games last year. Okay, 56 games. They went out and got Seth Lugo, who has never been a full-time starter in his career. Michael Wacha was one of those guys. They had Brady Singer, Cole Reagan's a part of their staff. So they have all these guys. They build around Bobby. They give him the contract, and then you see what he's fully capable of. So I understand, this isn't me saying Aaron Judge doesn't deserve it, because I understand the history and I understand what he's accomplishing. But my argument would be is that he plays center field averagely. He's an average to below average center fielder. I know he's very tall. I know he's very big. He probably shouldn't be playing that position, but he is because he wants to, and he gets to do what he wants to do. And I understand the record pace of home runs and the power that he brings. But when you break it down statistically as well, if you went and look on Fangraphs WAR, Bobby is higher in Fangraphs WAR. Maybe not today, but he has been. And for Bobby to play shortstop every single day and bring the numbers that he has, even if the power is lower, this guy should get MVP votes. He should be a part of the conversation. And I'm not saying you should win it, but there are too many people who aren't considering him and what he's accomplished. And it's incredible what he's done this year. And if Aaron Judge was not hitting home runs at the pace that he was, Bobby Witt Jr. would be the AL MVP.
I 100% agree. Our fans are going to hate us, but they probably already do because and they probably hate us for numerous reasons. But I think, when Judge was trending to 63, 64 homers, I think it was an easier case to make. Yeah. Come on, what are we even doing here? And now that we're going to, 10 games left, he's at 54. If he finishes with 57, it's a season we've seen before. It's not like when he set the AL record. So I do think,
right? If you get 62 or more, it's yours all day. It is yours. But to just, okay, you have already hit 50 something home runs in your career. What else? What other thing? Like, yes, if you took Judge off the team, like, would the team be where they are? They'd still be in the postseason race for sure. Like, maybe they'd be the number one wild card spot and they wouldn't be the division lead. But like, to me, the MVP, like, you take Bobby off the team and like that team is not that team at all. So
I think that's the best argument. If you took Bobby Witt Jr. off the Royals, they are not in the playoffs. If you took Aaron Judge off the Yankees, they're definitely not as good, but they have enough talent,
I think,
to be a wild card.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that for sure. I mean, if Aaron Judge wasn't on the Yankees, I don't know where we would be right now. Like,
we'd be doing this podcast from a very dark. We'd probably be doing a San Francisco Giants podcast. Yeah, we'd be in a bunker doing a Pac Bell Park podcast, and we'd still be welcoming you on, but it would be a different show. I mean, one of the reasons why the Yankees were not in a wild card spot or any postseason spot last year, when Judge went down for a bit because they had no one to replace him. They're bringing in Billy McKinney. This year, they would have at least, without Judge, had Juan Soto for one big year before he reaches free agency. And we all know he's going to reach free agency, and we all know he's going to cash in wherever he is. But when we're talking the city being alive, when we're talking like your ability to sit here in New York City at a unique time in history and be at SNY and watch Juan Soto dominate for the Yankees, while no matter which New York team you're discussing, you have to talk Juan Soto because Yankee fans can't get enough of him, and Met fans sort of are already minting the jersey and like repainting the Grimace seat in a Juan Soto jersey. So I'm curious, your year of sitting watching this discourse happen, has it felt like the tide has turned at all? Have you gone like, oh, he's a Yankee? No, now I think he's a Met. Okay, now I'm not sure. Like, what's your perspective on where both teams sit in what's definitely going to be the defining chase of the offseason?
Did you guys hate the Grimace seat?
I love the Grimace seat. Again, I'll be there. I'll be there
Yeah.
this weekend for Saturday's game,
Okay.
and I want to see the Grimace seat. I want to get photographed in the Grimace seat.
Okay, that answer surprises me. I like to hear that. I honestly thought they put the seat in. This here goes, like the downfall begins. So I'm glad that wasn't the case.
Well, to be fair, I was also at the game where the trumpeter came out, like during 2022.
That was bad.
That was bad. And Jerry Seinfeld, I think, tweeted like, "This is the end of the Mets." And I was like, Jerry, I agree with you. I think it might be, and it kind of was. But
and then it kind of was.
They have won through the Grimace seat debacle so far.
My perspective is that you can see Juan Soto's love for the Yankees more than you can hear his love for the Yankees. I think you can watch it in these little moments, maybe like if you're really paying attention, if fans are really watching, like the way that he loves the fans, the ways that he loves his teammates, he loves Aaron Judge. That's my perception of watching him in the clubhouse, on the field, in batting practice, with his guys, in the dugout. When you get those moments, like that's where I see the love that he has for the team. But Juan Soto is going to get paid. Scott Boras is going to make sure that Juan Soto is the highest paid player in the history of Major League Baseball. And there's no question about that. Do the New York Yankees want to blow their load and give Juan Soto the money that he's expecting? I don't know the answer to that. The New York Mets have the money. I saw Steve Cohen on the field yesterday. Like they're going to do. He was just handing out dollar bills to everyone.
Well, maybe he doesn't have it anymore because he's giving the whole crowd random gobs of money. So that's right.
Help. He's giving us money. There's a GoFundMe for Juan Soto now. So I think that here's what you have to think about. He wants his money. If he loves New York and he gets paid, I don't know if he cares if he's in pinstripes. He didn't start in the Yankees organization. He doesn't have that ride or die. This is where I want to be buried in this uniform. I don't know if he has that. And if he does, he's keeping it to himself, which he should. He shouldn't show his cards because he's going to get less money, because then the team will think that, oh, we can get him for less because he wants to be with us. He's going to make sure he's neutral. He's going to say weird things so that you can't sniff out the trail that he's on. Don't forget the Washington Nationals. They are 100% going to be in play and make a run at him and make him an offer. I guarantee you. What was it? $440 for 12 years, right? They have Patrick Corbin coming off their books. Hopefully Steven Strasburg off their books. They're going to have money to spend. They're an up and coming team. He grew up there. He loves that place, but he's going to get paid. I think I wouldn't be surprised, guys, if whoever offers him the most money gets him. Like, I want to believe he has loyalties and allegiances and that Aaron Judge has done a great job as captain, making sure that Juan Soto has enjoyed his time in pinstripes. I guarantee you there's been lots of cool things that he's done and seen and been to and been a part of, but he wants to get paid. Like, he turned down $440 when he was really young. He's 25. He's going to get paid. And at the end of the day, you can't really blame him because it's all a business. And he didn't want that number leaked out. He probably would have stayed. Bryce Harper probably would have stayed. Think about that team with Harper and Soto right now. Harper would have stayed if they gave him the money, but they didn't. And so here they are. They won a World Series, but their team has struggled and stunk for years now. So Juan Soto will get paid. And I know that it's going to be a wild offseason, but yeah, he'll get paid. That's it.
I think a lot about what the Nationals could have been. You had Trey Turner there.
Yeah.
You had didn't they trade a pitcher too, or they let a pitcher go? I don't know.
Well, Max Scherzer.
Yeah, Scherzer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would like to think Juan Soto values winning. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't. But yeah, you think he's going to get paid more than Ohtani?
So here's what I think is that Ohtani deferred $680 million of it, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that Soto's going to defer his money. So I would be shocked. I would be shocked if Scott Boras said, yes, we'll defer the money. No problem. We'll make it easy for you. Look what he just did with Matt Chapman, right? With the Giants. Like, he is out for a vengeance. He looked silly this offseason. His guys signing so late. He looked silly, and he's not going to let that happen again. I want to believe that Juan Soto wants to win, and he wants to be in the same uniform for the rest of his career. Maybe that's with the Yankees. If he wins a World Series, does he accomplish his goal and say, all right, let's go to a new place? Like, maybe so. It's so hard to tell because he hasn't given a lot of signs. He looks like he's having fun, but it's a business and these guys want to get paid. And it's also good for baseball if he gets paid and he sets a new standard. Do I think he'll get more than Ohtani? Yes, based off of maybe technicalities of not deferring money. There's no way he's getting $700 million, but I do think it starts with a 5.
Okay, that's fair enough. Do you think there's any dark horses like outside of the teams that everyone talks about? Yankees, Mets, Nationals have crept up as a potential reunion. The Giants recently popped in there.
Yeah.
You think anybody else is lurking?
Well, the
What's
Giants
saying? What are they saying in the studio?
Oh my gosh, you guys have seen it. So Sal's favorite thing to do is to whisper Soto's name, which gives me the heebie-jeebies. Anytime he just whispers his name and I look over and I'm like, can you not do that? Like, let's not be creepy. And he loves it. He loves Juan Soto. He wants that guy in Queens more than anything else. And Juan Soto is on track to be one of the best players in all of baseball. Again, I think he's just 25 years old and he's already accomplished a lot of different things. And so I think he's worth the money. I think it has to start with a 5. Like, that's a non-starter. It's got to start with a 5 and go up from there. But everyone in studio, I think, gets excited thinking about Juan Soto on their team. Look what he did for the Yankees. You said it. They missed the postseason. They stunk without Aaron Judge. They had nothing else. And that's crazy. You had nothing else. And Juan Soto comes along and he has been the guy who's made it possible. If Aaron Judge didn't have the day, Juan Soto had the day. He has picked his guys up time and time again. And I don't see that changing in the future. I'll give him the next decade.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're obviously going to enter the offseason nervous about his potential choice. Dark horses entering. The offseason is its own beast. But you underscored how thankful I am and we are that we are doing this podcast today and talking about which of the two New York teams has the best chance at this generational superstar as both hope to enter a playoff run, rather than 1 year ago today when we would have had you on talking about like, hey, did you see Frankie Montas's rehab inning? Did he look good? Do I care? I don't care. It feels so much better to be having this conversation.
And I think I think it's New York and I think it's Washington. Like, the Dodgers don't need him. Like, anyone needs him. But you know what I mean? The Giants do have the money, but I don't think that the Dodgers need that. They have Mookie Betts. Like, I'm picking Mookie Betts. Like, I don't need Juan Soto over there. I think this region of the country is going to be vying for him. And it's so funny. I'll tell you a quick story. Like, when I moved to my first apartment in the city, I walked in and it was like an open house, and all the girls, like everyone who was there, it was a 5-bedroom apartment. Okay. It had 2 bedroom, or not 2 bed, 2 bath, a little living room and 5 bedrooms, a little kitchen. Everyone had something. As one girl had macaroons, one girl had wine, one girl was like, I have a Hulu account. Like everyone was like the reverse Bachelor. It was insane, you guys. And all I said was, I'm ready to move tomorrow. I have everything ready. I have a truck booked. Like I have the money. I'm ready to go. And I got the place. Like, can't believe I got the place. But like, that's how I envision the off season going. Like this is going to be one of the craziest bidding wars I'd anticipate we've seen in a long time, next to Shohei Ohtani, of course.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, we're winding down here. We had a lot of good Yankees chatter. Well, first of all, before we get into stuff personally about you, we want to ask you a couple of career questions. But Grimace versus Aaron Boone, who wins in a fist fight?
Yeah.
Okay, I pick Grimace only because I think mascots fight dirty.
You do.
and they're insane. I know this from personal experience. I had to be one, and you would do anything you had to do to win a fight. And so like I think that Grimace would fight dirty.
Rewind though, as we get into personal questions, you had to be one. In what context did you have to be a mascot?
Yes, I worked in minor league baseball for a season. I worked in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. It's a double A.
The Sens.
Yeah, for the Senators. And I was an intern. And you, along with your other responsibilities, also have to be the mascot. And I was multiple different mascots, and I'm still traumatized from it. But if someone tried to fight me, I'm telling you right now, it would be like gloves off, even though they can't take their gloves off, you know?
Gloves, you take the gloves off, reveal even bigger gloves somehow. Kind of fight. Yeah, you do. We just like you do so much great work, and you're all over the place. You've traveled so much covering the game of baseball. I think I'm curious, like, are there we've talked up New York. Shout out to the listeners. We've talked a lot of New York, but are there other places across the country, things you've experienced, like essential baseball experiences where you're like, okay, every diehard fan has to do this. I'm so glad I got the chance to cover it. Major, minor, college, showcase. What are sort of the moments when you're like, man, baseball is great, and I'm like so happy to be here?
Yeah, that's really nice. I have worked really freaking hard, and I'm like very grateful for the opportunities I've had. And so I feel like I've got to experience a lot. So the 3 things that come to mind, number 1 is Omaha, the College World Series, the Men's College World Series, for college baseball was a dream of mine. And I wrote it down in my manifestation book that I wanted to sideline the College World Series. And I got asked to do that 3 years ago. This was my 3rd season getting to do it and cover college baseball. And I didn't make it to Rosenblatt. I would say that's probably like a top 10 regret in my life, not getting to be there. But I get chills thinking about the arena that is Omaha and what happens there and how special it is and like how meaningful college baseball is and how different that is, like because the season is shorter and the games just feel like every moment it takes your breath away. Every moment you're just hanging on pins and needles from game 1 to the finish line. So Omaha is one. The Little League World Series, I went to Williamsport and covered that a couple of times for MLB.com. I got to do the Little League Softball World Series this year. I called those games, which was wild and like in my wildest dreams and so special because it reminds you why you love the game, right? Like how many of these big league guys played Little League and to watch, like it reminds me like when I was growing up, I don't know if you guys played. I'm guessing you probably played when you were younger.
Yeah.
Like when I played,
not well, but yeah.
Yeah, but how freaking cool. Like you were with your best friends and you were eating snacks and you were singing songs and like you were dirty with your uniform all day and like someone was doing my hair and like I was wearing eye black and like those were the best freaking days. And so then you get to watch it and it gets emotional. You're like, this is so cool. And the teams from all over the world come in. And I mean, the team from the Philippines every year, my heart like just tugs because they're so special and they don't take a minute for granted. And it reminds you how special and important it is to be able to play sports at a young age with a team. And then I was telling you guys about Jupiter. So Jupiter, Florida for Perfect Game. It's called Worldwood Bat. And there's like thousands of scouts and everyone's riding around in a golf cart and you're going to all the ballparks. And these are some of the guys who are going to make millions of dollars in the draft next year out of high school. They're playing their last travel ball and everybody knows how special travel ball is. And, you know, you played with those guys for a long time. I did the same thing. And that meant everything to me. Like those years were my favorite years getting to do that. And so I've been very lucky to be in those places, and you just, it's all your favorite people, right? Like you cross paths with everyone who you love in the sport, who's all there and rooting for the same thing. You just want to see good baseball.
Absolutely. Little League, man. I miss orange slices, fruit snacks, and Big League too. Can we bring that back? Can we just normalize that for adults?
We can. Yeah.
That's an extensive list, Danny. Very impressive. I want to know, before we sign off here,
yes,
and you can give us a couple, who's like the coolest player, most fun player you've ever gotten to interview, and why?
Oh gosh. The coolest is Ozzie Smith growing up in St. Louis.
Hell yeah.
That for me was like a pinch me moment. We were in Cooperstown for the Old Timers game, and I think he was a team captain maybe, but he was making his rounds, and I try not to be a fangirl. Like, I don't want to be a fangirl, but to me, like as a kid, I didn't grow up watching Ozzie Smith, but I knew exactly who he was, and I know the highlights, and I know his importance in all of baseball, or Hall of Famer, but also with the Cardinals. So that is like a tops one for me. But I'll tell you, like I geek out at the Futures game this year. Because I do so much work at the amateur level, and seeing those guys, like their dreams are one step away, and you see them all in the same place. Like the future's bright. Like these kids are awesome. Tamar Johnson with the Pittsburgh Pirates is going to be a face of that franchise. Like he has it. And I got to cover him in high school, and I got to, those, you work on the backfields. Like it's basically like you're all going through the same experiences together, but these kids coming up, they've been allowed to have a personality and shown that they can have one, and they should have one. And they're a freaking blast. Like they are so cool. I'm trying to think too, like right now who's up. I don't know if anyone is like the coolest yet, but there's some kids that are coming that I'm pretty stoked about. But Ozzie Smith is he's top of the list for me.
I heard when you interviewed Tamar Johnson, he got starstruck because he was like, "Is that the Harrisburg Senators mascot?" Oh my God. Really?
He wouldn't know that though, because you're not supposed to talk. So if you're talking in a mascot costume, let me tell you, we're going to have words. You better not be speaking. I will be speaking, and I will be ripping you a new one, because that is weird. Do not talk in your mascot costume. Quit doing it. It's weird. Please.
Good to end it on a hot take. Dani Wexelman, thank you so much for joining us. This was awesome. We'd love to have you back if you'd be willing to come back. Hopefully we get to talk about a long run for one or both of these teams. And this could be a fall to remember in New York. And thanks for helping us remember it.
It's my pleasure. I love talking baseball. I appreciate you guys so much. This was a blast. And let's definitely talk in October.
Yeah, I guess it depends on which week. Week 1 of October, 2, 3, 4. I mean, hopefully it plays out. It would be we're long due for another Subway Series. So hopefully we get to have a lot of fun. But for Thomas Carannante, well, actually, we usually just sign off on our handles. I'm Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. Thomas, where can the folks find you?
I'm at Tommy's_takes. We're both at the official Yanks Go Yard Twitter account at Yanks Go Yard FS. Please head on over to yanksgoyard.com. We have all the content there for you. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Dani, where can everybody find you?
Oh, I'm at Dani Wex. That's where I'll be. Please be nice.
That's all we ask. Just please.
That's all we ask. And I tell you what, if you're not nice to me, I wish I could be the bigger man and be like, I'm not even going to notice, but I notice. I notice when you're mean to me. So just be nice to Thomas. Be nice to Dani.
Yeah. And tune into SNY. You'll see Dani. How many times a week are you on? Are you on almost every night?
I'm on once a week. I'm on tonight. So you can watch tonight, 6 p.m.
Did the days change?
The days change. I'm not very consistent because the schedule is.
I randomly tune in, and I must have went on a run of seeing you a bunch, and I was like, oh, nice.
I've been on like 4 Thursdays. Thursday's my day apparently, so we're rolling with Thursdays, which is one of my favorite days of the week anyway.
I think it might be
Friday Junior. They call it.
It is. Do they call it that?
Some people do.
I like hearing that it gets called that, but I was not aware. Well, Dani, we'll let you go. Thank you again so much for joining us. This was amazing. And take care, everybody. We'll see you live back here Monday, 2:00 Eastern. Thanks for joining us on the Yanks Go Yard Podcast.